I'm going to read it one more time, and then anybody who wants to comment on these verses is welcome to do that. Judas, not Iscariot, said to him, Lord, how is it that you will manifest yourself to us and not to the world? Jesus answered him, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word, and my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. Whoever does not love me does not keep my words. And the word that you hear is not mine, but the Father's who sent me. These things I have spoken to you while I'm still with you. But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you. Okay. Anybody who wants to comment on these verses, go right ahead. Go ahead and type exclamation mark. We'll start with Joe.
I actually think it's very much in line with what we've been talking about. And when God's talking about the word, it's talking about listening and understanding God. And so that to listen to God is to know God, which is to love others. And that there's the element of charity and obedience as well when you hear and understand God, and that's what Aquinas does, focus on in this particular passage. I read it a little bit ago. It was so that basically, Christ being the model himself of obedience, in a way, is showing us like what it means to actually listen to God. And he's also relaying God's words. He's the intermediary that's allowing us to understand God. And what does that mean? That means doing what God commands us to do, or following in the footsteps of his intermediary, which is Christ. So by following in the footsteps of his intermediary, we're following God's will. So that's the first part. And in that process, we're automatically becoming closer to the Father and the Son, and that's with the Holy Spirit. It's a natural process, and part of this is also seeing everybody as a child of God. So you're loving. When you're loving and you're following God's commandments, you're seeing God in everyone as well. So you're able to follow God's commandments. Those are, and it also there's an unconditional nature to it, because God's love Christ's love was unconditional. So that's another thing. Okay.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Next up is Evanique. Evanique.
So when I read this, I remember Aquinas saying, so Aquinas talks about that first part where Judas says, sorry, just trying to get back to the passage. Where is it? 26. All right, so for some reason I can't, it's not coming up. But when we was talking about it here, he says, Aquinas says, the first, in regard to the first, he mentions two things which makes a person fit to receive God's manifestation. This is where Jesus is talking about, like why is he not going to reveal himself to the whole world? And he says the first is charity, the second is obedience. As to charity, he says, if a man loves me, three things, and I think I went through this part. Wait. Oh no, this is three different things. So he says three things are necessary for a person who wants to see God. First, one must draw near to God. Those who approach his feet will receive his teaching. Secondly, he must lift up his eyes in order to see God. Lift up your eyes on high and see who created these things. And thirdly, one must take the time to look for spiritual things cannot be seen if one is absorbed by earthly things. Take time and see that the Lord is sweet. Now it is charity which accomplishes these three things. He who abides in love abides in God, and God abides in him. It also makes us look at God. Where your treasure is where your heart is. And as the saying goes, wherever you love, there is your eyes. Charity also frees us from worldly matters. If anyone loves this world, perfect love for God is not in him. Thus, to turn it about, one who perfectly loves God does not love the world. And I just love that because it just shows like what we've been talking about this whole night. It's like, why can't the world see him? Because there are people that are just not willing, like you said, ask, seek and ask, right? Shrikant, and I say this before, it's easy, those words are easy, you can understand them, but to live them, to put them into action, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you have to carry your cross daily. That's where you have to ask Christ for help to obey these commands, to obey him, because you need that charity. You need to see people through the eyes of God, through the 8 eyes. You need to see them through that lens and not the lens of hurt and pain that you felt in your experience. And now you're going to close yourself off because you've been hurt and because you've been in pain. If you're looking at it through the eyes of Jesus, you're going to see their hurt and their pain, but you're also going to see that center of them that has the capacity to love. And that's where you act from.
Yeah, I really like this formulation. It's like, this is the lens, you see. This is the lens. And if you're looking, and most people are looking at other people through their own past, along with all the hurt and everything, and they are actually projecting just that onto the other people, even when it is not there. What this does is that it really sets things right. It actually cleans the past. It is like this is the window, and there was all kinds of gunk through which you were looking, so you couldn't even see who the other person was. And what this does is that this is like a fresh look. So what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to read through, and I'm going to make brief comments, and then anybody else who wants to add is welcome. So Judas said to him, Lord, how is it that you will manifest yourself to us and not to the world? And that's a very deep question. So Jesus answered him, if anyone loves me, he will keep my word. And my Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. So this is really fascinating. So what he's saying is that it's like light, light is raining on you, but you have to open your eyes and look at the light. This love is raining on you, but you can close your heart and say no to it. So if anyone loves me, so that's the first condition of loving him. He will keep my words. So that means you're saying yes to the love and you're saying yes to the word. And my Father will love him. So you will get to the truth through the word. And you will get to the truth through your love of the word. And remember, this is all about, he will keep my word. Keep my word means walk according to it. Keep the commandments. So it is, if you say, if you have love for the word, and thereby the truth, and you walk accordingly, then what happens? Then what happens? My Father will love him, and we will come to him and make our home with him. So this is the idea of Eucharist, of saying that he's in you. So if you love, then he is in you. You have received him. If you don't, whoever does not love me does not keep my word. And then he is not. So Jesus is not in him, or God is not in him. So seeing here is the same as hearing that we talked about. Seeing here is the same as loving. He says, how will you manifest yourself? The question was, how will you manifest yourself? What does manifest mean? It is not just the light shining. Manifest means to bring on earth. So how is it that God is going to manifest in some people, but not in others? Because in order that the truth manifest in you, you have to love the word that captures the truth and act accordingly. That is the way in which Jesus is manifested, God is manifested on earth. And if somebody does not love, then the God is not manifested in them. This is how, so this is the answer to the question, Lord, how is it that you will manifest yourself to us and not to the world? But again, you see, it's manifest is in two ways. He's asking, like, how can you be there and I can see you and the other person can't? Because see here means to love and means to act in accordance with it, so that it is God is manifested on earth. These things I have spoken to you while I'm still with you. So now he has spoken all these things to these folks. And we have those things of what he has spoken. So what happens with the helper? But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring to you remembrance, to bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you. So what he's saying here is that Holy Spirit, that love, is going to bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you. So that is the word. So the words have been said, but the Holy Spirit is going to give the ability to love. It's going to engender your ability to love the word to everybody, not just these apostles, but anybody. The ability to love the word, and through that, love the truth, and thereby manifested in them, in their body, in their action. So that's how I understand these verses. Anybody else wants to comment on these verses? Next up is Joe, followed by Evanique. Joe.
No, that was beautifully put, and then how the love manifests itself in our actions, because that's how we actually really show our love and demonstrate our love in the world. It's through our actions, and that actually is, that's our character. And so that if we're following Christ, we're following Christ's actions. So that's it's how we are. I mean, it's how we. Yeah, that's one of the main things that I took from the Aquinas commentary as well, is the idea of our actions, the importance of our actions in the world, and how that is actually representative of Christ. I also very much appreciated your example of how the idea of the Eucharist and how that fits into to the acceptance of God and being in some people, and essentially how that's a way of manifesting itself in the world as well. Anyway, that was powerful.
Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Next up is Evanique, followed by Katie. Evanique.
Just to echo what Joe said, I thought that was beautiful, and I was actually typing an exclamation point just to tell you that. But I think one of the things I got is like when you said Jesus is the middleman between you and other people, and I was like, yeah, that's it. That's it. Like, you have to kind of go through Christ and see that person through Christ, and Christ is that middleman that helps you see other people. And then you said you through that lens, when you showed the tetrahedron, you said through that lens you cleanse the past. And I was thinking of that like you don't bring your past into your future. Like you said, you may be mad at that person, and that person really didn't do that thing to you. It just made that connection. So somebody may say something, and they may not have meant anything by it, but because you have that past experience, you're looking through that lens instead of the lens of Christ. But then the last part where I was just like, wow, like really blown away is when you said, to manifest is to bring on earth, to bring it on earth. So if we are manifesting Christ, if we're supposed to manifest Christ and bring him on earth, how do we bring him on earth? Through our actions. It's how people see us. If we're claiming to be Christians, or we're claiming to be followers of Christ, and we don't act like anything like Christ, how are we manifesting that? And what are we manifesting? Because we're manifesting something, we're bringing something to the earth all the time. I think the beautiful question is, what are we manifesting, and what do we want to manifest? So that was just beautiful what you just said. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Evanique. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Next up is Katie.
I went today to this is in reference to the Judas comment where he says, why do you intend to show yourself to us and not to the world? It was talking about how Judas was depicted in the Last Supper, and he's like depicted like kind of socializing with the other disciples before he betrays Jesus. And I found it interesting here that they said, why aren't you showing it to us? Because he's like, shows how he's kind of intertwined in amongst all the other disciples before he's going to betray Jesus, which makes for me that makes the sting of the betrayal a little bit worse, because there are other depictions of Judas where he looks kind of isolated in the picture, like where he's kind of painted off to the side as kind of like a traitor. But here it's like, why don't you show it to us? Like Judas is part of the group of disciples.
Thank you, Katie. Katie, this is the other Judas. This is not the Judas who betrays Jesus. This is the other Judas who's speaking. That's why he says Judas, not Iscariot.
Oh, okay, I mixed it up.
Okay, all right. Anybody else has any comments? Gary.
But kind of hearkening after Katie, it is important to realize that Jesus did wash Judas's feet. And so much of what you had is, even though it's the different Judas here, much of what is being said really does still applies to him. But yeah, I was thinking of that same thing, the manifesting, and for at least in the Gospel of John, it doesn't even matter if Jesus manifests himself as with people with unbelief can't see it. And that's I think in a previous lecture we talked about like the paradox of the cross, that is the glory. It's not what anybody would expect. It's that the transfiguration is being transformed into a servant, not into a king. The lifting up is not being elevated to a status of authority and positional glory. It's being lifted up onto a cross. The whole idea of having a good death, a noble death, an honorable death, this is the opposite of that. This is the lowest form of death. This is what we do to a nameless person, is we put him on a cross. And so there's that whole paradox of what's going on there. Is like, how is it that you're going to show it to us but not to the rest of the world? It's there for the world to see, but they can't see it. It's not possible. Which is the funny part about love, because what the world does see, and we see this in Ecclesiastes, is their own self-interest, is the give me all the stuff in the world. And so when you love somebody, even a self-absorbed person will acknowledge that they're benefiting from your actions. So this is it, like love pierces the veil of ignorance. When we can't see the glory, we can't see the cross, we can't see anything else. The person who's self-absorbed will at least notice that they're being benefited in some way. And so love kind of like gets through that. And I don't know. That was my thought on it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Gary. Next up is Joe.
Yeah. So a couple of interesting points that were made by St. Augustine in this, specifically, was that I lost my place. That your desires, he talks about, come to me, you who desire me, and eat your fill of my produce. And it says, basically, by following Christ, first he comes to us by filling us with his effects, and we go to him by receiving them. you're fulfilled, your desires are fulfilled, that you no longer need anything else, that you're following Christ. So that, and that is a major thing, because a lot of things that we tend to desire are the wrong things. But he immediately talks about the second part as being enlightened by this process. And again, that's the wisdom that comes along with desiring the right things. So I think that, that this is kind of these putting together a process, at least St. Augustine is in this particular instance, of how to not only follow Christ, but to feel fulfilled in that process as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. All right. If nobody has any other comments, I'm going to give you a demonstration of this thing that you have never seen before. Okay, so I'm going to stop this recording and I'm going to talk about this as a model for conversation. Okay, so I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to start it again so I don't have to edit it.